All right, welcome and peace, power, and love as always, and greeting. Um, Want to thank my subscribers as usual, and if you know somebody that may like the content, share it. Feel free to share it. Trying to get my subscriptions up where I can go live and interact more with you all. So that's really a goal of mine to get that done, and also give a shout out to activatemedia.org, um, where my broadcasts are replayed on Fridays at 9 p.m. out of Boston, Mass. And just appreciative too for that opportunity. And like I say, just trying to reach those who are like minded. Um, that's really my goal. um, Here over the last few days, I've really had a lot on my mind. um, my old lady lost her younger brother, my cousins lost their mother, a longtime friend of mine passed away. um, then I happened to jump on Facebook a minute ago, and another one of the elders, good gentleman, good man, passed away. So um, I am just kind of dumbfounded by it all. And um, I know I had posted to my. I get on Facebook. I really don't post a lot like I used to, but I do still post from time to time. And it was some stuff that had happened Saturday, and I made a post yesterday about it. But I don't know. It always got to be one person. Seem like and I says why I really when I leave here, I don't really want no funerals. But it's just always got to be one person that I don't know, just will mess up the whole mood. And some people look at funerals more like get-togethers, somewhat of a party, but it's really not the place to, you know, get your party on. Uh, I've lost a son. I'm gonna talk from the heart today about self accountability, and I'm gonna try to hit on a few points where I think that collectively, uh, you know, we need to not only address but institute into our daily routines. This is how we will be able to advance ourselves by holding ourselves accountable for what we're doing and what we're not doing. Um, um, I feel like today's world is so self centered that, you know, we don't self evaluate enough. And I, everything that I'm about to talk about really is about me. Uh, and it's a little personal, but I've told this story time and time again on other platforms that I had. And I'm an open book. I think that's another thing that, you know, sometimes we want the world and people to see us as flawless, and nobody's perfect here. Some are better than others, but not one of us are perfect. You know, we clean up our act to, um, you know, try to make our lives better, but, you know, nobody will ever obtain perfection, um, because we come here blemished, you know, and when you live to be 50 something, 54, um, you've made some mistakes, you know, and something that I've always tried to do, and I talk about my granddad a lot because I learned a lot from him, um, as far as becoming a man. And um, I was far from perfect. And the things that I used to do, you know, rip and run the streets, you young, you think you're going to live forever, you're out there drinking, smoking, doing whatever it is that you do. Uh, and like I say, those young thoughts, um, really have you living fast at a young age if you're not careful. Um, as I grew up, I mean, I stopped drinking in my 40s. Um, and when I say I used to drink, I used to really drink. Um, I'm not ashamed to admit that. Uh, that's my past, and that's what got me here. Um, and I always thought I would drink. Honestly, I always used to say I could see myself sitting on the back porch in the rocking chair sipping on me a drink, you know. But now I don't even have the urge for liquor. And I really wasn't a beer drinker. I was a liquor. I liked Hennessy, Cavassier. Um, I was that was my drink, cognac. But um, you know, like I say, you sometimes have to sit. And um, when I found out about having high blood pressure, I had to take a look at myself, change some habits, shift some things around, and start trying to treat my body right. Uh, and then, you know, I've never said this on this platform, but I lost my son in 2008 in February on the 18th, and lost his mother 10 days after he was born. That was a lot on my mind at 20 years old. That should have grown me up, but when you're young, you don't. I grieved, but when you're young, you really, like I say, you don't have a true grasp of what to do next. I knew I needed to work, so I got a job. You know, I had a son here, and then when I lost him, I went through a real deep depression. I went through a depression after losing his mother. Um, but the depression I went through when I lost him was much more severe. Uh, and I tried to get rid of myself uh, on several occasions. I was out in them streets again like I was 22. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about anything. And my granddad was still alive at this time. And then we used to talk a lot, and he knew a lot was going on. He didn't know exactly what. Well, I don't think he did, but he was always good at making me look at me. Because the thing about life is, there are obstacles that we can't change. There are obstacles that we can get around. But then sometimes there are choices that we make that are detrimental to character, morals, values, self, finances, and all that. And then when those things start happening, that's when you have to look at yourself. Now, like I say, some things are out of our control, like inflation, and you not really making enough money to make ends meet. Having to work 2-3 jobs. What's crazy about it is we don't even have the time for our children because everything is so overpriced that we literally worry and work ourselves to death. But I don't want to get off course. So I had to take a hard look at myself because I was killing myself. And I knew it, but I didn't care. And I still had my daughter and just had my youngest son. But my headspace was not there. I missed my son. And I still have my days where I will, hear a song or just something will happen and he'll click into my mind. And yeah, I still have my days when I shed a tear or two. Because I often wonder what he'd be doing now, and that was a lot. But like I say, I had to hold myself accountable for the things that I was failing at. And a lot of times we tend to try to put our failures on others. And I was listening to one of the sisters last night that I follow who does a podcast, and she had a brother on there, and I agreed on one of the things that he said. We have to hold ourselves accountable because too often we want to point the finger at white people or the system. And like I say, not to, negate the fact that the system and some of these racists out here are part of the obstacles that we have to, get around. And I'll explain get around. But we can't just make that the whole focus of why we are not where we are. Because see, if I had been, and I even during those stages that I was going through, I never blamed anybody. I would always think about the what ifs. What if I had this? What if I had that? Those thoughts run through your mind 100 miles an hour. And this is another reason why I say that we can all help somebody get through something, because we've all been through something. And it may not be the loss of a child. It may be the loss of a mother or a father or a sister or a brother or a daughter, um, you know, a grandma, a grandfather, all of that. It messes with you mentally. And we have to deal with that, because keeping it bottled up and unrecognized is when it becomes an issue. And usually when that when it reaches that stage, uh it's going to pull you back. Whether you're going for, it's going to start to pull you back. um and that's why I say we've got to, be more focused. And let me throw this in right now. Recognize the fact that we need each other. You know, we've got to hold ourselves accountable for the things that are not working in our communities as well. This is a must. And just like you would, it all starts with you, and truly, you know, wanting to change into what it is that you want to become. And I realized something over the weekend. I think I know that I'm on the right path. There are still some minute things that I need to correct, um, and some things that I need to discard, because during a process of change, there are some things that you may love to do, but you may have to discard them and put them down for just a minute so that you can get where it is that you're trying to go. Um, Sometimes I feel like we, at least for me anyway, I feel like sometimes I overlook direction. And I know somebody will be able to relate to that. And what I mean is, you know, sometimes things can be going good, and then all of a sudden there's a collapse, and you can do one or two things in that situation. You can let it overwhelm you, consume you, or you can figure out how to get over to the other side. And a lot of times I feel like we become, because even in my situations, I sometimes become discouraged, um, because I'm not really where I want to be. But for everything that is not, it's a reason. And for everything that is, there's a reason. Um, but and sometimes I've wanted to give up on my dreams. I really have. And I have people around me who say, don't quit now, which is true. And you need that encouragement from the people who are around you. Uh, it helps it helps to hear that, but then too, you have to keep yourself motivated as well. Um, and then, don't be so quick to blame, you know, your situation on something else. First, look at what it is. This is just me. Look at what it is that you can do that you didn't do. Look at the things that you may be able to correct and change, because that will only make the path smoother. Um, Up until I had my heart attack in November 2021, I was really on course to get my trucking um, business up and going. And I'll say something else too, just to throw this in. When we do start holding ourselves accountable, it'll bring us together. And then we'll meet more like minded brothers and sisters. And then we will uh, be able to forge our way. Because it's going to take more than one or two, 10 or 20 of us. We're going to have to get our numbers up. It's a must. It's really going to depend on our survival. Um, but yeah, we've really got to hold ourselves accountable, because in order to build what needs to be built, we need to, first of all, uh, reclaim our children. I'll put that at the top of the list. We've got to reclaim our children and teach them consequences and discipline first. With consequences and discipline comes respect. And then we've got to teach them as well self-accountability. There are so many things that our children are missing out on. Me and a brother was talking Saturday after my cousin's funeral, and we were just talking about this younger generation, and I flat out said it. They would not have been able to survive in the 70s and 80s at all. I don't think not one of these kids born into this new world and computer world could have survived our childhoods, because they don't listen. But that can be changed. Self-accountability really is nothing more to me than when you're doing right and when you're doing wrong. Change that. That's it. Change that. Hold yourself accountable. And I do. Sometimes I think I hold myself over accountable in certain situations and some circumstances, but that's neither here nor there. The first person that I really get down on is myself, because what am I doing? What is it that I'm not doing? What can I do? I look for a way to try to figure it out. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. But we've got to hold ourselves accountable in our children's, like I say, in the aspect of our children, because they need us. And we know that. And before long, we're going to need them. See, we're headed in a different direction than they are. And we're going to need them to know how to deal with circumstances and situations that arise. And then we're going to have them humble. We've got to teach our young people humility. That, like my mama used to tell me, that you are no better than anybody else. And I think that was the best lesson, because driving trucks, I met people from all walks of life, and you see all kind of people hanging out at these truck stops. Um, and I never would not speak or would act, bougie, look down my nose at people like that, because any given day that can be you. And, you know, I've been homeless before. I've had to live out of my car for a few months back in the days when I was really not giving a dang. And then one instance was just out of my control. But nonetheless, thank goodness I had a car. And like I say, sometimes we take for granted where we could be as opposed to where we're at. And I understand that even when you're where you're at and it's not all bad, you still want a little more. Because even me, I'm not, well, I'll just say I'm struggling like everybody else, but, you know, uh, because I want better, things won't get any worse. You know what I mean? Uh, I can't let things, I can't go through things that I went through. And I've had to do that a couple of times, but there's certain things that, you don't want to go through anymore. Certain things that have happened in your life, you're like, oh, I don't ever want to go through that again. So, okay, that's a driving force, and that's really when you looking at self, and realize your part in the whatever it is that has taken place, whatever it may be, but we've got to definitely teach our children the basics of life, and teach them the truth. We teach them the importance of group economics, teach them the importance of working together, rebuild the village. I say this a lot too, and we do. We have to rebuild the village, because at least within the village we can be safe, and we are a peaceful people for the most part, but reclaiming our youth and redirecting their mindset, uh, unplugging it from this matrix and giving them alternatives other than cell phones and iPads. And this is, like I say, this is when we can play a big role. Let's start planning family get-togethers during the summer, like every other weekend you go to another cousin's house or uncle or aunt or something. Just family get-togethers where we can know who we belong to and know who our people are, and not only that, build bonds. And you never know, once they grow up, they may can do some things together that we weren't able to do. But we've got to definitely, like I say, reclaim our children and then give them the environments that we had. And we've got to hold ourselves. That's another thing that me and the brother talked about. And I'm going to say this, we've got to hold ourselves accountable for partially for the way our children behave, because we came from that generation that said, excuse me, we came from that generation that said, I'm not gonna do my kids like that. I'm gonna give my kids what they want. And then when we got grown, that's what we did. And now look at the outcome. Because they spoiled, they want everything, they don't want to work for nothing, they don't know the importance of work. They think work is getting on Instagram, doing videos and TikTok videos, all that, which some people do make money, but that's not a job. You know, it's not a job. So we got to really, like I say, hold ourselves accountable too for some of the shortcomings and the things that our children don't know, because we wanted to give them a simpler life than we had, a somewhat more carefree life than we had. And we just didn't realize we had carefree lives. We just was mad because mom and daddy didn't let you do what you wanted to do. And then most of the parents nowadays, I wasn't one of them, but most parents nowadays give their children choices. We got to stop that. We got to give them direction, not choices. That's that other stuff. We got to give them direction. That's part of the problem as well. But we got to hold ourselves accountable for that. We've got to hold ourselves accountable for black love, the black family, black marriage, black relationships, whatever the case may be. We and I, me and some brothers were sitting around the barbershop. This has been a few months, and I mean a few months ago, because I used to still get edge ups there, but last time I was there was a couple of months ago. But then this conversation was maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe we was just barbershop talk. But we were talking about how our generation, my generation, and I grew up in East Texas, started drinking young. I think that that kind of played a part in my love for liquor. But that's another story. But hung around an older crowd. I did. I hung around people who were older than me. I spoke about my son's mother, Darius's mother, and she was older than me, so I was around an older crowd. When we first hooked up, I was 18. And we saw a lot. We wanted to, live that life and be grown and do our thing. And our children, they go through the same things, but they have more access than what we had because of the, internet and all, and these social media platforms. But, we've got to really, like I say, because the conversation was, but the point is, we got to really hold ourselves accountable. We had to grow up young, fast, because we started making children younger. Like I say, when Darius was born, I was 20. And at 20, you not trying to slow down. You trying to mash the pedal to the radiator. But now the problem is not all of us, but some of us get to this age and I don't know, because I still like to go out, but I'm talking about, I know people that got to go out every weekend. And at this age, it's no different than it was when we was doing it at 30, 25, 40, or whenever, Uh, and there's such much more, well, there are clubs catered to for a more adult crowd, but there is always, some younger people that can manage to get in, but uh, we feel like we missed something, you know, and which women especially, because 9 times out of 10 the child is with the mother, so the mother does miss out on, the woman misses out on quite a bit, way more than the father, unless they are, under the same roof. But I think that led to us, you know rearing them, raising them, getting them out of the way. I've heard so many women say this. They grown now, so I can do what I want to do. And nothing wrong with that. But I see so many, and this is men and women. Uh, so many of us get to this age and we still be trying to connect to that 20-year-old Melvin through the younger generation now. We still trying to relive our young days, because when we were younger, we didn't have a chance to. And like I say, I think this is more prevalent with women than men, because they give up much more time than a man does. Uh, uh, but the black fathers I know are involved and do spend time. That's what matters the most, the time. Um, we definitely got to hold ourselves accountable for each other in that fashion, and really protect your marriages, and allow your children to see some harmony, even if there is some discourse, and there'll always be some slight discourse, but try to keep it civil and respectful, to where your children will have that same respect. Uh, we definitely got to hold ourselves accountable for our disunity. I don't know what it is that won't allow us to come together and thrive. Because if we come together, we're going to thrive. There's no doubt in my mind. I can feel it in my spirit. And what I don't want, and they touched on this last night, and I've thought about this so many times, because I've said this in conversation to several people. We're not going to come together until we're forced to come together. And when we're forced to come together, it's going to be unorganized chaos as to organized harmony. See, it can be like a symphony, or it can be like an intermediate band. And we cannot afford to be forced to be together. That's what happened in slavery. But even in the discourse of that, they came together through all the brutality and all that. They stayed together. They were unified as they were allowed to be. And they took care of one another. You know, and we have a great opportunity if we will trust one another. Just straight up trust one another. Stop putting our trust in all these white people who ain't gonna save us. You know, they want your vote, yeah, so they can sit in that high chair. But like I've said on several occasions, we get nothing for that vote. So that's why I always have said, you know, the best thing for us to do is really remove ourselves. And we really got to start holding ourselves accountable for the things that we don't have. And stop blaming it all on the system. Because if we start doing what we need to do, the system will become irrelevant. The system won't even matter. Yeah, we may still have to abide by the laws of the land, but we'll have the economic power to do what we want to do. And we can build our own spots and maintain them and defend them. And that's why I say we have got to bring ourselves together in this effort. We've got to be able to do this. And that's why I say it's important right now that we start planning. Those of us who are like-minded, those of you who may be watching this video, you know, who may think, yeah, he got a point. Because, you know, we don't have much right now. And we don't have the things that we need to sustain ourselves. That's why it's important for us to buy land. You can make the land valuable by what you put on the land. Yeah, land is going to always be valuable. And that's what we need to start investing in, land, so that we can start rebuilding these Black Wall Streets. Just like they did it, we can do it too. Same way they did it, we can do it too. And even better. Not to say what they did wasn't great, because it was, especially during that period. For them to have been able to build all that they built, 35 square blocks, that's a lot of area. And see, we can do that right now on a much larger scale. And that's why I say we need to come back together and start making some of these dreams our ancestors saw come true. Not letting them have died in vain. We got to hold ourselves accountable for change, because it's going to be up to us to invoke change. That's what we do. Don't nobody else be speaking up. They may be disgruntled about it, but they not going to say shit. That's what we do. We always the ones on the front line, speaking up and speaking out. That's what we be doing as a people. And still be at the bottom of the barrel. And then whoever comes to our aid. And that's why I say we gotta really start looking at what's going on and paying attention. Because through all of what's going on, they still managing to kill us and brutalize us. Doing it very well. Doing it very well. So, I mean, I know it's always easier said than done. Always. But anything worth having is worth the sweat. And see, we've been sweating for everybody else. We need to sweat for ourselves. We need to sweat for our children, for our grandchildren, and build us the utopia that we want. And I can guarantee you it'll be better than anything that's in existence right now. And I'm talking about from the actual architecture to the people that dwell within it. Because that's just in us. That's just who we are. But we got to start stepping. Because, step by step by step. But if you ain't taking no steps, be lost in the dust. See, we're always put in last place. Let's not stay in last place. Let's finally do something that will truly benefit us collectively, and stop waiting on these governments to do it, because they ain't gonna do it. You see what Biden did for us? Nothing. Still held for us to get home loans and business loans and anything that's going to produce wealth. It's sad. I'm a trucker, and I went into a bank a few years back. It's been a few years back to apply for a loan to purchase a diesel. And credit good, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And I'm like, what? Well, yeah, the price of the truck and what. I say, if I came if I had went in there and told them I saw a Cadillac I wanted to buy, they'd have signed papers and, yeah, Mr. Siri, here you go. Yeah. But anything that you can turn into wealth, into money, they not pushing that for us. That's why we got to be able to push that for each other. Plain and simple. We need a whole lot, y'all. We do. I sometimes get discouraged because I sometimes think, who's really listening. And like at some of the poetry events I go to, I'll say a few words before I go into my poetry, because that's just an opportunity to, try to get in another brother or sister's ear. Because we really got to start being there for each other. It's so important. Everybody is really together except us, and that's why I say we got to start getting back together as families and friends and all that, because we don't ever know. Nobody ever knows. That's the thing about it, So, yeah, let's do that for each other, And I've spoke about the boycotts on several occasions, but it's effective, y'all. It's truly effective and effortless. And especially in this technological world that we're living in now, we could shut this country down and start helping each other. We could shut this country down by simply redirecting that couple of so $trillion that we spend and give back to them. We could shut them down by simply keeping our money amongst ourselves, linking up with brothers and like-minded brothers and sisters, and buying land, buying maybe commercial spaces, starting businesses. But I say buying land because then you can put what you want on the land. Houses, neighborhood stores, all of that. Because that's really what we need to start doing, buying land and building from scratch so it can be all ours and expand and grow. And then see, when our children see us doing something, that'll give them the incentive to put that phone down and put that iPad down and start asking questions on, how do I do this? How can I do this? We give them a new direction. And it's that simple. It really is that simple. All we have to do is start doing it. All we have to do is start linking up with them like-minded brothers and sisters that that don't mind kicking in a few dollars for the betterment of the whole, and turn that into even more. Because we got to start helping each other. When you do it, show somebody else how to do it, and I'm gonna say it. Damn it, black people, stop figuring something out and then you want to charge people amounts of money to do it. You done figured out how to do something. The Most High done blessed you to figure it out, and He ain't charged you nothing. But then you want to turn around, and I've seen people be charging $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for information that you can get if you just do the research. But we got to stop doing that. Hell, we already ain't got nothing. And then you get these kind of people, see, and this is what I'm saying too. Some of them gonna have to go. But you get these kind of people who see a way they can make a quick dollar. Well, I'm gonna charge this much. Like I was talking to my nephew a few months ago, and he does brokering. And he said, why I'm gonna charge $400-$500 when I'm doing about a couple of hundred of them a day? He said, I don't be charging but about 100 or so. That's how you do it. You bless others so you can continue to get blessed. Plain and simple. And when we start blessing one another, we can continue to get blessed instead of giving it back to this system who ain't blessing nobody but they damn selves. And we got to hold ourselves accountable for that, because we the ones that keep giving it back to them. I try to spend my money in black establishments as much as possible. And there's several little vegan restaurants around Dallas area that I frequent. And they're all, the ones I've been to have been black owned. But yeah, we gotta pour into each other. We gotta be the blessings that we praying for, y'all. Don't understand that? By now, we the blessings that we praying for. We just ain't blessing each other. Yeah, I think I'm good. I think that's all I got. But that's just that's just something to think about. It's done me good because it has made me do things different than I did. And I'm one to believe, I said this a few years back, how can we call ourselves grown-ups when we're in a constant state of growth? And until we in that casket, we're still in a constant state of growth. Maybe not physically, but mentally. And I guess physically as well, because we're still aging. So, just something to think about. You know, that's all I got. Yeah, that's all I got. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, like I say all the time. Those that take the time to listen, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hopefully finally soon. But anyway, um, hopefully, like I say, I get me 28 more subscribers and I can get on the live, and be able to interact because it's all about communication. It's all about communication. And why do you think that they work so hard to break up the ways that we communicate? Hip hop, they busted it up because hip hop really was a communicative uh, music in the beginning, educative as well. Some groups brought facts that you didn't know until hip hop. Uh, it was a message in it, and then not only that, as it continued to grow, um, you got to see people from all different parts of the country, as it evolved. And, the South started getting involved, the West started getting involved, the Midwest, and it was just really a beautiful thing, but them devils was running it, so you knew it was gone cave in sooner or later. But anyway, see, those are the kind of things like I'm talking about. We need to start funding, being able to fund. Look at all the money that hip hop done made and still making. And then it's still people who like that old fusion and that old form of hip hop, more storytelling, as opposed to the whatever they call that now. But anyway, I said I was done, so I'm gonna be done. It's almost been an hour. Like I say, love y'all. Appreciate y'all for watching. Uh, if you run across the video, stop, check it out. Tell a friend. Uh, I do appreciate it. Like I say, like I always say in closing, let's plan, let's organize, let's unify because we all have a key right here and right here. I'm out. Peace, power, and love.